Hey there, I'm Jonathan with Getting Games. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the one versus many game, The Brightview Haunting. In this video, I'll give you an overview of what this game is like to play, but I will not be going into all of the rules. You can find more details about the game in the description below. Now, I do want to ask that if you enjoyed this video, that you please click the like button for it down below, as well as the subscribe button for the channel. And if you'd like to directly support the channel, then please go to gettinggames.com/support. Lastly, if you have any thoughts about the game while you're watching this video, then please leave a comment down below. All right, let's jump into it. The forest at the outskirts of Brightview sat silent for decades. Locals were always told of occultists practicing rituals to commune with spirits of the past in its depths. One night, a superstitious teen named Bert Hudson stumbled upon the ancient elder tree. His curiosity got the best of him, and he unwittingly broke a seal keeping something bound within the tree. In mere seconds, the ground trembled, and a creature with a twisted, branch-like appearance emerged. The stories of a demon known as the Whisperer returning one day were true, and Bert had just awakened it. As Bert tried to flee the ancient tree, the Whisperer managed to catch and cage him, trapping him within the elder tree. As nighttime arrived, Bert's older sister, Andrea, had not heard of him for hours, and rightfully she became concerned. She immediately called out to her friends, and they rushed into the Brightview forest to find Bert. So that sets the stage for the game, where one person is playing the Whisperer and they are playing against the rest of the players who are controlling the Exorcists. 3 to 5 Exorcists can be in the game, and each one has different passive actions that differentiate them from one another. Now, the goal of the game differs between the Whisperer player and the Exorcists. The Whisperer wins the game by themselves if they manage to possess every Exorcist on the board. When Exorcists become possessed, they start helping out the Whisperer even though they don't win the game if the Whisperer does. On the other hand, the Exorcists win the game if they're able to reduce the Elder Tree's power to 0, thus freeing Bert, and they all flee the forest. Now, the way the game works is each player is going to take their turn in clockwise order, including the Whisperer player, until someone wins the game. On each player's turn, they perform up to 2 different actions. And there are many actions to choose from. The first is move, allowing that Exorcist to move up to 5 spaces orthogonally on the board, but they are blocked by walls and obstacles. They also have the search action. This lets them flip nearby search tokens, which will gain them cards. The first time they search, they will gain a utility item, which they hide from the other Exorcists, and that flips over this token, which will reveal one of 3 different icons. In this case, that is a corrupt item icon, and if they search here again, they will gain a corrupt item, which again, they hide from the rest of the Exorcists. The next action they can do is use an item from their hidden hand of cards. For example, Andrea could use this Unholy Lantern. It is a corrupt item, and it would let them teleport on top of any search token or any space in the thicket. They would then gain 1 corruption and then draw an event after using this card. Now, corruption is tracked here on the player boards. It starts off to the side, and as they gain more corruption, they will start to suffer various hardships, like being burdened and hindered, and finally, when they get to the 5th spot, they become vulnerable to being possessed by the Whisperer. There are ways to lose corruption as well. For example, this holy water utility item they have will let them lose 1 corruption, or they could reduce an adjacent Exorcist's corruption by 1. Now, I did mention that some effects will cause events to be triggered. The way this works is an event card will be drawn for the section of the board where that Exorcist is. For example, Andrea is currently in the ruins, so this event would be drawn. It's hallucination. It says the Whisperer increases their control by 1, and they may teleport next to you. This is not a good thing. In addition to these effects, the player who caused the event to happen immediately ends their turn. Now, the Whisperer gaining control is a problem, and I'll explain that very soon. Because first, I want to mention the trade action that Exorcists can perform. Now, normally, you cannot show your cards to any other player, but when you go for a trade with an Exorcist that's within 2 spaces of you, you can reveal cards. In addition to this, when it comes to communication, the Exorcists must speak clearly to one another so that the Whisperer can hear everything that they are saying. Now, there are other Exorcist actions, but I think let's now talk about what the Whisperer can do. Just like the Exorcists, they perform up to 2 actions from the options that are available to them. Now, they can move up to 7 spaces, so faster than the Exorcists. They also have a track action. This lets them move any number of spaces in a straight line. That means, unlike the Exorcists, the Whisperer can move and track, giving them much more movement on the board within 1 turn. Now, I did mention that the Whisperer seeks control. This is tracked over here, and as the game goes on, the Whisperer will increase their control value, which will unlock various effects for them. At the beginning of the game, for example, when they move or track, they are blocked by walls. But once they gain access to Demon's Breach, They can then pass through walls, and as control goes up, these effects get stronger. Let's now focus on the forest. Now, in addition to these search tokens that the Exorcists are trying to find, the Whisperer is seeking out these echo tokens. Each time they perform an absorb action on an echo token, they reveal it, and it will either place a rooted gateway token down, or it will increase their control by 1. Now, these rooted gateways will go down where that echo was, and once there are at least 2 rooted gateways on the board, the Whisperer can freely move between these, and the Exorcists can also move between these, but far less efficiently. Each time the Whisperer absorbs an echo, they place it on their board, and as soon as they have 2, they can do a pulse action. This increases all of the Exorcists' corruption by 1, or they can move 2 Exorcists up to 6 spaces towards them. This is important because of their ensnare and possess actions. Remember, the goal of the Whisperer is to possess every one of the Exorcists, and they do this by corrupting them. When we focus in, the Whisperer can ensnare an Exorcist that is adjacent to them, forcing that Exorcist to roll these 3 dice. Each time one of these faces is rolled, that Exorcist will gain 1 corruption, and if an Exorcist has below 5 corruption and rolling the encounter dice gets them to 5 or above, they are instantly possessed. Another way they become possessed is if the Whisperer performs a possess action on an adjacent Exorcist that is already vulnerable, which means they had 5 corruption. Once possessed, that Exorcist will no longer help the rest. In fact, they are going to help the Whisperer with its schemes. On their turn, they will have a smaller list of actions they can perform, but they might not stay possessed the entire game. If their corruption ever goes down below 5, they are no longer possessed. This can happen through the use of various items from other Exorcists, including one very powerful item, which places a salt circle. These cover 4 spaces on the board, and they reduce the corruption by 1 for an Exorcist within. Also, whenever there is salt on the board, either from a circle or from the usage of various items that let you place these lines down, that is going to hinder the Whisperer. Before they have enough control, they will not be able to move through here, but they can perform a disperse action to remove salt. However, once they gain enough control, they can simply brush right through this salt as if it wasn't there. Let's switch our focus back to these Exorcists. Again, they win the game if they reduce the Elder Tree's power to 0, and the only way they do this is by seeking out items. Again, each time they search, they flip over these tokens, and then they draw the indicated type. For this, that makes a ritual item happen. They don't actually take these. Instead, they are flipped over and placed onto the ritual space associated with the area of the board where that ritual was found. Now, a very important action the Exorcists can perform is spending both of their action points to do one invoke action. In order to invoke, they must be on a ritual space within the correct region, and then they'll pick a ritual item that's on the ritual board and perform its action. For example, this silver chalice says, when invoked, they reduce the Elder Tree's power by 2, but this player gains 2 corruption, and then an event is going to be drawn from that region. Generally speaking, these events are bad for the Exorcists, but sometimes they're neutral or even positive. For example, these ancient rites will actually reduce corruption. Now, once again, invoking rituals is mandatory because that is the main way to reduce the Elder Tree's power. However, rituals alone aren't enough. Warding items can also reduce this power, and only through a combination of invoking ritual cards that are found by searching and by using these warding items, which are also found by searching, will the Exorcists be able to lower the Elder Tree's power to 0 and win the game. So, as the game goes on, each Exorcist is seeking out these search tokens to get the items they need, while the Whisperer is hunting them down to ensnare and possess them in their quest to possess all of the players. Now, of course, this was just an overview to show you how the Brightview Haunting plays. If you'd like to learn more details about the game, including reading the rules, you can find a link in the description of this video for its crowdfunding campaign. Well, that's going to bring this overview to a close, and I hope you enjoyed learning about the Brightview Haunting.